Yes, we're live. Okay, great. And I've got a little sister circle going here with my sisters Scarlett Johansson in Stockholm. I've got Angela Fobbs in Germany,
I live near Frankfurt.
Frankfurt, and
Yeah.
Alma Sullivan in Belgium. We're hoping that another sister, Gloria, who's actually from my hometown, Washington, D.C., can join us in a bit. But we just decided to get together because this is an election year and we want to make sure our voices are heard to encourage other Americans that live outside of the United States to vote. So Scarlett, I'll start with you. I know we said you're in Sweden, and what state is your voting state?
My voting state is California. I'm originally
Okay.
from Southern California.
And you've lived overseas for a while. Is this the first time you'll be voting?
No, I always vote from overseas. I think I want my voice to be heard.
So you're a member of Democrats Abroad? And is that how
I
you
am.
request your ballot? Is that how you learned about being able to vote overseas?
No, I mean, I think that California has always had this email ballot availability. I believe so. I mean, it's been so long now since I've been here. But yeah, I believe that's how I became aware of it. And then you just, of course, have to keep up with it and make sure that you're actually getting your ballot via email.
So do you remember the first election you voted in
Hi, Gloria.
from Sweden? I know when I
It had
moved to
to be
Sweden,
Obama times, right?
exactly, because I moved to Sweden and we've been here about the same amount of time. I moved to Sweden in 2006. So yeah, 2008 was my first election from Sweden, and I was in Stockholm at the time. And I remember I had to use a emergency write-in ballot because my ballot didn't get to me on time, and I
Yeah,
sent it back FedEx
yeah.
because I was determined. And then my ballot came like 4 days later. I kept it as a souvenir. But what kind of voter are you? Like, are you determined to vote? Like, I felt like I was determined to vote.
I am. I feel like I am because I mean, if I remember correctly, and maybe it's happened a couple times now, as as you get older, the mind forgets some things.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, at the time, it was this whole fax situation. When you wanted to do the ballot, you had to
Yeah.
fax it back. And the
Yeah.
whole fax nonsense was a hot mess. So I
Yeah.
remember having to do this virtual fax
Yeah.
and it would be like ringing and never connect. And so
Yeah.
so I felt like I was very determined because I had to get up like in the middle of the night, which was kind of California time, to do it
Yeah.
during business hours. And then
Yeah.
finally it went through. Yeah.
Now, why are you determined to vote this year?
I mean, come on. I'm a person of color.
Where
If
do we
you're not
start?
concerned.
Yeah. Where,
Exactly. I mean, yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know. I don't really at my age, I don't really care what other people think. But for me, I don't like what's happening in the US. Just because I live in Sweden in another country does not mean that I've abandoned my country. I will always be an American, even though I
yeah.
love living abroad.
And the
So
Swedes
for
will remind
me,
you of
I
that too.
absolutely. And I am Swedish as well. I have two citizenships.
Yeah.
And for most people that don't know, is as an American abroad, we are required to file taxes. So I feel
Yep.
like I have every right to
Yep.
vote and to exercise my right to vote. So I mean, I am not a fan of Trump, straight up.
Yep.
He needs to go, period, for me. So I mean, I will be voting hook or crook, however I need to vote. I will make sure that my one little vote is cast.
Well,
And that
you
is
vote in
my commitment.
California, so that's good. You really have a
Yeah.
voice. Um,
Yeah.
and what does having Kamala Harris on the ticket mean to you?
For me, it's a bonus. I mean, I know that she's gotten a lot of bad press for her views. I know her blackness has been questioned, which I think is, I don't even, how do you say it another way? I think it's bullshit. She's a black
Yeah.
woman, period, for me.
Yeah.
So, I will tell you right now, I am at the point where Trump needs to go so bad that if you told me she burned houses down with babies in them, I really don't think that would make a difference to me. I mean, to me, we're at critical mass. I mean, our people are on attack. We're being attacked every day. And I
Now,
feel that even though I am here in Europe, it is a real thing for us.
do your
So
babies have
Trump
US
needs to go.
pass? Do your
They
babies
do.
have US passports?
They do. We all do. Yeah.
So when you look at this, do you think about the future of America for them if they would choose to live there or study there, or even do you even want to take them to visit in this climate?
I mean, because of coronavirus, of course. I mean, I have, like I said, have not abandoned my country. We typically visit the US every summer.
Yeah.
My children, even though they are Swedish born and raised, they identify as Black women,
Yay.
regardless of
Well
how they
done.
look. That is something that is, they will tell you, I am a strong Black woman, period.
Good
So,
mothering.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's important, and I'm also raising a Black son. And,
Mhm.
of course, my husband is Swedish, so my child is biracial, but we have a Black household.
Mhm. Mhm. Well done. Well done. Because I wonder about, because that's one thing, you always think about your legacy. Oh,
Because it
good.
is my.
No, you froze a little, so I was just
Go ahead.
filling the space, but
I
you're
did.
back.
I am. No, I mean, I would say like this, being Black is not easy. It is something that you're reminded of every moment of your existence, every
Yep.
day, every moment.
Yep.
And, it's just, you have to be comfortable with that, and you have to understand what that truly means. And that is my job as a mother, to prepare my children for this life, because I don't care if you have green eyes or whatever, you are Black in this world. As long as
Yep.
you have a mother that looks
Yeah.
like okay.
Okay, she's frozen again. Oh, you're back again. As soon as I'm going to
Can you
say
hear?
something.
Are you okay?
But we're going to come back to you, Scarlett, because you totally laid it out and set the tone for how I can
Good.
see how this conversation is going to go, which is great.
Sorry.
No, that's right. No, that's good. That's good because this is the season of Black Lives Matter. This is the season where we're afraid to look at the news and see who else was killed and how, and where, and then, how the protests are going to go, or the interlopers are going to take over our protests. We're waiting, we're afraid to see, you're California, what's going to happen with the fires over there. It's
Yeah.
hurricane season. It's so many things to be fearful for, that one thing that
Yeah.
we can do to feel better is to vote. And we know how important that is, or they wouldn't try to suppress the vote or keep us from voting.
Yeah.
um, Angela in Germany near Frankfurt. She leads the Democrats Abroad Global Black Caucus, which she formed in 2017, and since then has been doing fantastic things. Tell us what we should know about the Global Black Caucus and what drives you to do such a fantastic job.
First, let me just say, well, thank you, Adrian, for having me here. Um, I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to people, different sorts of people. The Black Caucus was formed by not just me, but a number of other people in response to the fact that, strangely, Democrats Abroad didn't have a Black Caucus. But as everybody knows or should know, Democrats Abroad is an all volunteer organization. So if there's something that doesn't exist, it's because no one's volunteered to do it. So I got the ball started along with some other people. It was definitely a collaborative effort, not just me. Don't want anybody to feel slighted or anything, because I couldn't have done it without all the people that helped.
No, every
Um,
caucus has a steering committee.
yeah,
Um, and you had a fantastic steering committee. And yeah, I was leading the global caucuses at the time, and it would always be, why is there no Black caucus? And I'll say, because nobody wants to do it. Do you want to do it? And nobody wanted to do it until another colleague brought you and said, she'll do it. And you led it, and it's been kicking butt ever since.
yes. We've been basically just trying to. This is not a formal setting. We've just been trying to hold it down,
Yeah.
actually, to be honest. Especially in the past 2 years, there's been so many things that have happened. I mean, other things happened in the first 2 years of Trump's um, term, but it was more of, yeah, I know, I don't even know what to call it.
I know you didn't want to
Like,
say.
yeah, it was, there were all these people that were on the streets, like yelling at Black people and trying to control their lives and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But now we've gotten to a point. I mean, there was always violence against Black people by the police, but I think we've reached a point where um, it's extreme.
Yeah.
And, you know, George Floyd, his death, I think it catalyzed more people into realizing that they have to do something. And
Well, witnessing a death is one thing, is different than reading about it in the paper or hearing, but seeing, or hearing that the police feared for their lives or whatever, but seeing how that played out.
yeah, well, the police are a bunch of liars, and they constantly lie about what they do to Black people or any people. They don't care. It's, you know, it is racism that causes Black people to be shot by the police. But the police, in general, are a violent organization, and they shoot a lot of people. They shoot thousands of people every year. All of them are not Black. A lot of them are. We just need more people to understand that it's not their job to shoot people. We have a justice system, a so-called justice system that
Just us.
that is supposed to, if you ever watch that dumb show, Law and Order. I do not watch that show anymore. I have watched it, but it's like, they give an explanation of how the justice system should work. The police, investigate the crimes, and then the district attorney and the judges, etc., adjudicate it. It's not that the police are vigilantes and they just kill people. I'm not a fan of the police, if you hadn't noticed. Not at all. But the Black Caucus is trying to do what we can to help get out the vote. We have several GOTV teams that are working on getting out the vote. We are, of course, encouraging all members to vote, all people. So everyone, please vote. That we have a lot on the line. It's not just the stuff that you see that's on the line. It's the stuff that you don't see. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking to my sister, and she works for a company that does something that she has to talk to people on the phone about. I'm not even going to say, because I don't want her to get into any trouble. Someone was calling about something, and at the end of the conversation, they told her Black people will all be re-enslaved soon.
Now, how did that even come up?
Because that's how those people are. They're mean, and they look for every opportunity to get it in. So she had a perfectly reasonable conversation with this person, and then at the very moment, at the end, this guy says this craziness. But I don't think it's all that crazy. I think there's a lot of white people that would like to enslave Black people again. And I'm going to tell you what, I will not be enslaved. So anybody
It reminds me of the Brits that want to go back to the days of the empire. They're still pissed off about that.
It's amazing to me how many white people want to go back to a time that they know nothing about, and so that they can rule over Black people if they think that's what's going to happen. But as so many white people like to point out, they didn't own slaves because only rich people own slaves. So it is a sick fantasy that a lot of people
and they don't
have.
want to share the burden of white privilege and what that means in their lives, even if they didn't own slaves. So one of the things that you do, or the caucus does, as you have events. What kind of events do you have? Global events that anybody can join over the internet?
This year, we've had a series of events that were focused on fighting white supremacy, from our GBC Cafe, which is a place where we discuss issues. We have had a lot of participation in this. We've discussed various issues such as police violence, vigilante violence, whether we should take down monuments, a number of topics. We've had so many of these. Sorry that I can't remember all of them.
No, and I know that you've had speakers, one talk about reparations, talk about Black Lives Matter in the time of COVID.
Yes. We
Malcolm
had
Nance was his topic.
Malcolm Nance, which people maybe don't see as that was our final event on fighting white supremacy, because a lot of people, we talked a lot about how Russia was influencing our elections, but Russia is an extremely racist state. And the things that they believe in white supremacy. And that is why they're so gung-ho to support Donald Trump. It's not just that they want Donald Trump. It's that they're also white supremacists and
Do
they
you
want to oppress
remember?
Black people.
Do you remember what your speaker said who talked about, okay, Black Lives Matter is a protest, and now what? It was like people protesting, but what is the concrete action that we can take after or as along with protesting?
Yes, that was I can't remember his name, a reverend from Ohio that was
Right,
doing it. Was after what happens after the marches stop.
right.
Yeah, that was we had Horace Small. He's a activist in Philadelphia that was, and actually we're going to try to grab him back to have a quick chat because he really told us what was going on the grounds in the United States, and they're really working hard. Black people in America are working hard to turn out the vote. So Black people overseas, you know, you got to tighten up and make sure you vote. I've seen so many people write things online about, oh, I'm not going to vote because it's either not going to make any difference, or I wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, and so I'm not going to vote, which is totally ridiculous.
Well,
I
that
wanted
goes
to
back
vote.
to what Scarlett said. We have to stay focused, right? There's no perfect candidate. We know what's at stake if we don't vote. It's the bigger picture. It's the now. It's already going to take us a lot of work to make up for the last 4 years, pulling out of international treaties, you know, what's happening with the national parks, what's he done with the State Department? Diplomacy is our first weapon. The constant attacks on the American Care Act, better known as Obamacare. It's a constant, wanting to put up this wall, the attack on Latinos and Hispanic community, not to mention our community, women's health productive rights.
Yeah.
So it's we do have to think bigger than ourselves and our favorite candidate.
Yes, we
and,
have
and look
to
and
look
see
at everything.
look
I
at
think
And
things at
you have
stake.
to be a pragmatic voter. I mean, you just have to be pragmatic. These are the choices. Yeah.
Absolutely.
and
And there are not three choices, there are two choices. So,
that's right.
I mean, I get really tired of people telling me, well, I'm just going to vote libertarian. That is a choice. Yes, I get it. But I think in the end, we all know what that means. So,
That's absolutely right. And you don't want to be in a position where say if you don't vote this way, you're a horrible person.
of course
But you
not.
do want to be in the position where you say, think long and hard about your vote. What is your reason for voting that way? Have you read this platform? I don't even know if the others have a platform. Who are you voting for? What is the reason for voting?
Well, I think if you have your reasons and you vote and you stand by that, then I can live with that. What I don't feel comfortable with is pretending that there's another choice. And I think also not voting when you have the eligibility to vote doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because America is a nation of immigrants. I mean, come on. Many of us can easily trace back to the first person that came to the US. So that means that voting for us is still relatively, it's a special honor. So I can't imagine why people just don't vote. I'm from Ethiopia. So
I think it's complacency, to be honest, because I mean,
yeah,
if
they
you
don't
think
make it
about it,
either.
it's the same thing in my view. Before you can kind of look away when people make certain types of comments, okay? When they are, when you say Black Lives Matter, and then they go, all lives
All lives
matter,
matter.
or that bullshit, right? Okay,
Mhm.
fine. Sometimes you can look away, but then at some point, your silence is agreement. If
Yeah.
you are with them, you're not with me. And I feel like that's where we are. And a lot of people that do this libertarian nonsense, or that I'm still like, hung up on Bernie, which never realized, right? It's like you are taking the lame way out, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like these are so if you want to vote and you want to have impact, then you need to vote one of these two people. If you just want to be like, I voted, but I took the safe route and my silence was agreement, then that, and I think that's where a lot of people are coming from.
Well, because you're right, Scarlett, maybe in 2016 you gave them a pass because after 8 years of Democratic office, it's hard to get you know, America shifts. You know, we haven't had a long run since what, Roosevelt or something. You can kind of see that. Did the shift the right way? But now you're right. You're complacent if you don't vote blue is what it seems. If you think about anybody outside of yourself, a bigger picture. Gloria, why are you voting? You need to unmute. I'll see if I can unmute you. We still can't hear you, Gloria, because you're muted. So remember what you said. Now you're
Okay.
unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we
darling.
can.
I was just trying to to unmute me. And of course, why am I'm voting? It's my right. It's something that I know makes a difference because I've been listening how one vote has made a difference the last time around. And I was agreeing with you, Scarlett, that a lot of it has to do with people just not realizing how important their vote is. There's a lot of complacency, and a lot of people are just don't care. I have to say, they just don't care who wins or not. But this election, it's really, really important that people do care, because I'm so afraid of the United States being another Russia or another Turkey, where you have this idiot person in charge and does not care about the people that he's ruling. And one of the really scary things about all of that is that the Republican Party are supporting him. And I think that they're all in this thinking if Trump wins and he's able to destroy all the institutions, which he's doing right now, and people just don't seem to realize what he's doing, putting his people into all of the, decision-making institutions in the United States. It's so easy. It's so easy to just become an authoritarian country once all of the institutions are destroyed.
And Gloria, how long have you lived in Sweden, and why do you still care so much about the US?
Oh God, I've lived here in Sweden 40 years now, 41 actually. And I still consider myself an American. I'll always be an American. So the vote is very important to me because I don't want to see the country destroyed. And I know under Trump 4 more years, I don't think anyone's going to recognize the United States anymore.
Yeah,
I'm scared, and that's why my vote is very important, and why I'm so hysterical about not having received my ballot yet.
Well, it's not too late because they should even though some have started arriving early, they should come 45 days before, which is September 19th.
Yeah,
so,
you mentioned that.
But
what state do you vote in, Gloria?
I'm from DC,
so DC statehood. I vote in DC as well. Tell your Congress people that we should have rights. We pay higher per capita federal taxes than you guys from any other state. We don't have representation on Capitol Hill. It's another form of colony, basically. But we do vote. We are able to vote in federal elections. Some territories aren't.
And I haven't had any trouble with that previously. I've always received my ballot way ahead of time.
Did you request to get it by email? Do you remember?
I requested to get it by email.
So don't panic until the 20th, and then we can figure it out from there.
But I'm just feeling so angry because I know Trump has done every single thing he possibly can to make sure that people inside the United States aren't going to be able to vote. So I can imagine that he's done quite a lot to stop all of the votes that are coming from abroad, because he knows, as everyone else knows, that the Democrats took all of the votes from from last term in 2016, that the Democrats abroad really were strong, although most of them went for Bernie. But
we know that Clinton got 3 million more votes.
Yeah,
But she won the popular vote but lost the election. So it's
exactly.
important that we get the votes from the key states.
And that is the problem. I was listening to CNN this morning, and Trump is on the march, now. It looks like that he's going to carry most of those, most of the Republican states, and what do they call them?
Swing states.
Swing states that it's really, really tight.
Well, I would
And
say beware of the polls. We know how that worked out last time, at least in
I know,
2016.
I know.
And no, very few ballots have been cast. So I don't appreciate the media trying to call states where it's just starting to vote. People are just starting to vote.
Yeah.
You have 2 adult children in Sweden. Do they have U.S. passports?
They both have US passports, but they don't vote. I mean, they don't, no, they don't vote, and they don't pay taxes. So,
Well, it's not tied to, one isn't tied to the other. So you can talk to them about why in the world they wouldn't vote this year. The tax man is not going to come get them if they vote in a federal election. And if they have US passports, which are valid, try to share your future of America. That it's going to be that's
oh,
their
they're following.
inheritance.
Yeah,
That's
they're
that's their
following.
inheritance. When you're,
Yeah.
so, and they have, I know you have at least one granddaughter. So please talk to that's one thing I wanted to stress on this call. A lot of African American women that live outside of the U.S. may have children who were born outside of the U.S. and who have never lived in the U.S. But if they have
Mhm.
U.S. passports, they can vote, and they should. If they've never voted before and are going to be voting age come election, let 2020 be the first year that they vote. So you should talk to your children about voting. There are a lot of dual citizens, accidental Americans. Every vote counts, as you say. Comes down to, depending on where you are, very few votes. So your children, if they have a U.S. passport, they have a vote. So you should consider,
I'll consider that and
make
talk to
sure
them
that they
because they,
know that.
yeah. I actually didn't think that they were eligible because they're born over here.
That's a
Um,
misnomer. They're
mm,
Americans.
yeah, they are Americans. I thought that they needed to live in the States in
For
order to be
federal
eligible.
elections, no, but it may depend for a state election. Not every state
Mm,
allows kids, but we're talking federal. So even if they can't vote, but we're talking DC. So you can find that out on votefromabroad.org.
yeah, I'll check that out. I'll
They can
check that.
just, they can
Yeah,
work
your
there.
children, of
There's
course, our
also
children
there's
got
also
registered this year for the first time, both of our adult children. And we thought at first they couldn't vote either, but they can. So
Of course
please
they
do
can.
it.
Federal, yes. State, usually you have residency requirements, so that's why you can't vote. But when it comes to federal, yeah. That's why
But
we
Okay.
even
recommend that
with
IRS.
Yeah,
Well, that's
even
good.
with states, I know there's only about 11 or so that require that you had to have lived there.
Okay.
So yeah, exactly. So it does depend, but it's not, we're talking federal. If they
The
can't do
federal's the
anything
critical
else,
mass. Yeah,
yeah.
federal's critical. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
Good.
yeah.
and
Also,
any
I'm so glad you
who are
came.
18 or
Say it
above.
again.
I said any of their friends who are 18 or above as of November.
Absolutely.
So
I'm
pretty.
so glad if you learned that you came tonight, Gloria, to hear that message, if nothing else.
Me
Right.
too.
So
I was
every American, whether you have lived in the US or not, you're born to one or two American parents outside of the US, go to votefromabroad.org and you will use your parents' last residence as your voting residence. So the system will walk you through that very quickly. There are some states that let you email back your ballot. Like Gloria, when you and I get our DC ballots by email, we can email them back in return.
yeah.
There's some states where you can use fax. Scarlett, I don't know. I can't remember if California is still one of those. You've been through there, but it's improved since now.
No, it's better. It's better. Yeah.
Yeah, about faxing. And then there's some states where you will have to mail your ballot back. And you want to do that as soon as possible. You know where you live. You know how your mail service is. If you think it's going to take a long time to get there, you can use the federal emergency write-in ballot. Votefromabroad.org can help you with all of that. So outside of just 45, what is the biggest reason that people need to vote? He's a huge reason on its own, but do you like the way Congress is acting. No working across the aisles. You know, a lot of people say, you know, they don't look at state elections, but who your congressman or a representative and your senator is going to be important. What if when we take the White House, we need the House of Representatives, and we need to keep that, and we need the Senate to
We need
come
the
as
Senate.
well. Because you know, our form of government, we don't have kings. You know, they
Exactly.
got to work together.
I know.
45 wants to be a dictator, but you know, that's not going to happen. So you have to look at those state elections as well. You can trust and just vote blue up and down, but don't leave those spaces blank either. You can go to
Mhm.
Ballotpedia. Is that what it's called, Angela?
Ballotpedia, and you can look up the races. Or the easiest thing to do is to go to your state Democratic Party website. They will have a list of the candidates there that you
that
can
they're
use.
endorsing.
Yeah, and then I don't want to say you don't need to do any work, but it's okay if you let the Democratic Party in your state tell you which candidates and issues you should vote for. You know, I mean, if you really feel unsure, then yeah, go to Ballotpedia, go to the League of Women Voters.
Right. Emma's List is one if
Yeah,
you're interested in supporting female candidates. And I know we were talking about this earlier today, Angela. We think it was six because we haven't finished all our research, but six senatorial races that could be won by six African Americans. I know one would be Cory Booker keeping his seat. That's in New Jersey. South Carolina, Jamie Harrison.
yeah,
I know
Mike
in
Espy,
Mississippi, Mike
Espy.
Espy. He's another graduate of Howard University.
What is this,
There's a
Mark?
young brother
Oh,
named, his first name is Adrian. He's in Louisiana.
yeah, there's
And then the other two I can't remember. Um,
Raphael Raphael Warnock is in Georgia, and
and we know how white the Senate is. It's
Mark
important that we get more
Snow.
people
Wait,
of
no,
color
wait,
and
that's not
women.
Senate. Cory Booker. Yeah, we have a lot of
Mhm.
black candidates, and so they're all mostly Democrats. You know, every now and then there's like a stray Republican black
And
person, but
also from the
you can ignore
LGBT
them.
community. Yeah, there's a lot of us running for local state races. You know, states are broken down into, well, what districts or precincts, and there are a lot of state seats that are open that young LGBT women, Black, Hispanic, and from the Asian American Pacific Islander community, you know, they're embracing Kamala as much as we're embracing her, which is great. Um, and those races need to be looked at as well. But for example, we care, you know, education. As you say, we're not going to ever be a socialist country, but we want a better education for people of color. We know that's healthcare. We're never going to be, you know, have the healthcare system. I shouldn't say never, but maybe it's a big workup. We can do better. The same thing with the environment, right? We can do better with that. The same thing with voter suppression is a huge thing. We need to look at, and also the social justice system. In Florida, you can vote for judges. You know, we need to look and see who are these candidates that are handing out these ridiculous sentences to African Americans that it's not an even playing field when it comes to that. So 45 is definitely the focus, but work up or work down, however way you want to look at it. Um, but Scarlett, what kind of America do you want for your daughters? Say, imagine they come to you and they say, "Mommy, I want to go to university in the States," and assume you can afford it or they've got the scholarships or whatever. What kind of America do you want them to walk into?
Where, I mean, in reality, I don't know, but what I really think will happen. But I would love it to be, you know, a place where there is equality, where they don't have to worry to watch your every move as a person of color,
Yeah,
to, you know, where your existence is questioned every day, where you have to answer random people because they think that they have some kind of right over you. It's
exactly.
crazy to me. I don't understand. It's like, no, I don't owe you any explanation. You know, you just because
Exactly.
you asked me something, yeah, I did have an attitude and I can do that. No, I'm just saying, right? I can
Yeah,
do that. And I don't have to answer you. I mean, I would like my girls to just be able to just be. Just be. That's all. I don't, you know, I'm not asking for extra. Just
yeah,
let me be.
Yeah.
I just, walk in the park, run,
Yeah.
just let me be Black, and not mean that I'm, my like my daughter says, my skin is not a weapon.
That's
My
right.
color is not a weapon. And
My
we're over
hair.
here.
Interesting, because the white people think their skin is a weapon. That is
Well,
an interesting
No,
comment.
I was cleaning yesterday. I was upstairs just putting some papers together, and my youngest had exactly that written in English. I didn't even know she had written it, and she had created a bunch of protest signs on her own.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know. So I just happened to be upstairs in a room similar to this one. I was just sort of organizing papers, and I thought, what is this? And that's deep for a 10-year-old.
yeah, my daughter's 11, and she made a video on TikTok. Yeah. And I was shocked because, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know my kids are very aware of what Blackness means, even though they look the way that they look. And even though the existence is somewhat okay here in Europe for people of color, somewhat okay. Europe people, don't be thinking that it's better over here, because it's not, all right?
Yeah.
But it is a little bit better, okay?
Yeah.
But for my daughter to be aware of George Floyd, not that she wouldn't know that, but I was very surprised because she had made this TikTok video and she showed it to me, and I was just like, wow, because she gets it, and she's 11, and it hasn't even touched her in the way that it has touched all of us, as far as what this beautiful color that we have on us, what that really, really means. And she has been very much so affected by George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, and just, not understanding, mommy, why do they hate us? My daughter asked me this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I
how do you
11 years
answer
old.
that?
I have to say, Scarlett, I have to say, our children have been living with us for more than 10 years, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they are aware. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's not that they see how we are treated.
Yeah.
Even though we are sitting in a nice car or a clean house, or, they see all of this. It's not that they miss it. So
But I think, Almas, to be honest, that you also put words on it. I know you do, because a lot of times this treatment, they don't know what the feeling is. It's just like when someone is treating you the way that they're treating you because of your color. You feel it in your core. No one has to explain to you what that means. You just know. And to try to put words on it to someone else who is not necessarily a person of color, or even a woman, will have the same kind of feeling of understanding that they would have never said that to me if I wasn't a woman. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you have these kids, you are talking about race, and most white people do not want to talk about race because they have the liberty of not having to talk about race. But I have to explain to my children why someone has said the things that they've said or treated them the way that they've treated them. And it 100% is about color, because just like you know it, I know it. And this, this rainbow world that people want to pretend that we live in, it doesn't exist.
Well, I think what concerns me more is not that they don't want to talk about it. They actively shut it down.
Yeah.
They
act like they're lying.
Yeah, they gaslight you. So you basically get ostracized if you are the one that brings it up. And I find it interesting because really, I'm a pretty easy person to talk to. But if you start to get at my humanity, it's really hard for me to know where to bother. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I think that's been the biggest struggle for me the last few months. I mean,
no, I agree.
This is an opportunity, and I'm trying to see it as an opportunity to talk. And people are just like, wait, no, that's too uncomfortable. Wait a second, you're uncomfortable. I mean, I'm the one who's
living it.
Plucked out of my all Black environment. I'm from Ethiopia to the U.S. And all of a sudden, I'm Black. I mean, I was always Black, but now I have
But you didn't know it.
This construct of Black. And then
Can I come in with the comment, Dominique? I think you're good in what you're saying. I understand that. At the same time, because I do have lots of white friends, you have to think that even though and this is what is really, really good that's happening in the United States with the Black Lives Matter, you have a lot of white people that are joining in on these marches for, Black lives. But a lot of white people don't know how to approach this subject because they don't want to be considered racist.
Well, you know what, Gloria, they have to do the homework. It's not our job to make
that's
white
not my
people feel
Right,
comfortable about
right.
race.
But I think that we need to also do our homework in that sense to be able to approach white people also with that knowledge that they don't understand, that they aren't even aware. Like so many have not been aware. A lot of them aren't aware of the systematic racism that exists in the States. That's something that they're learning about now.
Yeah,
Well, you
I
know,
understand your point, but I don't really think the burden is on us necessarily. I
No,
think
no, no. I'm
you
not
can
saying
give,
that. I'm not
no,
saying
but
that.
you can, and to be clear, like, I think we all have white family members. If we're living in Europe, I'm guessing we must have some white family members. I myself was raised and adopted by a white person. So I have nothing against anyone. That's not really what this is about.
No,
But
no.
I have something for me. I would like to say that, my children who are both Black should not be automatically assumed to be anything except children,
Exactly.
and I get a little frustrated because I don't really want to continually mind my language or mind my tone or mind my words, because I've been doing that for over 4 decades.
yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
what I have learned to do to get along. And I think the opportunity that we've been given is to at least try to speak. And they can try, everybody can try. Everybody can try and lead a less polarized life. I mean, if you don't speak though, for me, you're basically telling me either you don't have the confidence, which I cannot give you. I cannot give that to you. I also don't know, but Gloria, I'm doing my homework. I'm reading, I'm listening to good podcasts, I'm engaging with people like you guys. I'm trying to get my voice, which I have shelved literally at the highest level for many years to get along. So it's not that I was sitting in work environments and, raising flags or raising my fist or no, I've never done that. I've actually always been pretty, open to talk about anything. But now we have an opportunity, and I feel like with or without the election, although the election is very important, I think we have to speak up. So what happens with the election is we all know one way or the other, it's going to be, historical. I mean, that's the least I can say. It's going to be historical. And that's why my kids said to me this weekend, we were coloring, and they said, whether we're sending them to swing states, these postcards. And they said, whether we influence the vote or not, at least we tried. At least we are doing our part. They're children, they're under 18, so they can color. That's it. That's all they can do. But I'm over 18, so I need to vote. I need to talk. I need to at least be part of the conversation.
Absolutely. That's
And
why
I never do.
we're here.
And I hope you're not misunderstanding what I was saying about being, I don't know how to say it. I mean, of course we need to speak up. All of us need to be very factual and very, I don't even know how to express it, but we need to definitely speak up for ourselves, absolutely, and our kids, and instill them with the pride of being who they are as well. The only point that I was making, not criticizing anybody, was that white people are also afraid. They don't know.
We're all afraid.
That was
The
the only point that I wanted to make.
But that's the thread. That's the thread of 2020. We're all afraid, whether you're afraid of the pandemic, you're afraid of the movement of Black Lives Matter and how it can maybe potentially bring down structures that you kind of benefited from, you're still afraid. But you know what? I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous for me to assuage everyone's fears. All I can do is I can say, join a book club, read a book, that's one option, or talk to your neighbor who you already have an existing relationship with. That's already something. Cross the street, force yourself into an uncomfortable situation. I mean, we all live abroad, so we're used to being uncomfortable. We're used to it. In some way, we're uncomfortable, right? I mean, it could be the way you speak or the way you talk or the way you dress or something. But a lot of people are not doing that day to day. And I think get comfortable with the discomfort because it's here to stay. You know, that's what I feel, whether it's at work or at home or, you know, with politics or, you know, whatever, economics, everything. It's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna get really comfortable really soon. I mean, that's my perspective. But then again, it's easy for me to say because I think I've always been a little uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Coming to the
But I
US at
also-
5 years old and,
I-
you know, all of
I-
that. So, sorry.
I think, no. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I always like to say that change is always uncomfortable. Even if it's good change, it
Yeah.
hurts. It always hurts. You understand what I mean? And
Being a
that's
mother.
just, people need
That's
to
a big
be
thing.
prepared for that. And I think, like you said, 4 decades, I am also there. Over 40 crowd, close to 50. I am there. Yes, hear me roar. Yeah. You know, but I'm at the point in my life where I love people. I care about people. My husband's white, for crying out loud. So I don't not like white people. I get that sometimes. You just hate white people, really? Because I have 4 children with them. So clearly I don't hate white people, right? But what I don't like is when white people try to excuse my existence and my experience. If I know, I'm old enough to know if someone has treated me like shit because I'm
Yeah.
black. I know that. I know what that feels like. So for you who weren't even there to tell me that I'm wrong or that I'm confused or I should have complied is a slap to my face.
Or that it's all in your head, you
Yeah.
know, like
You're
Yeah.
not a unicorn. You're
you
not
know,
a
you get the
unicorn.
daily
It's
microaggressions.
it's the ultimate gaslight, right? Where you're just like, no, I know that this is a thing. It's a thing, I promise you. And no, you are wrong. That's the conversation I cannot stand. And that is the one that will, that will end very badly for us because I don't have time for it. Ignorance,
Right.
I can go with. I can go with ignorance, but don't try to tell me that, you know, all he had to do was comply. Really? Really? So you're telling me whatever crime he committed, I don't care what he did, okay? Other than like, you know, molesting a child or something super crazy. But I mean, if he stole some cigarettes, okay, he did that. So you're telling me that you should die because you did that.
Yeah.
That is the question. That is the question. And if people can't see that, I don't know how we exist on the same
But
planet.
I have to say, Scarlett, I think sadly, and this is on one of your questions is about what we're kind of most concerned about as far as the initiatives. And I think for me, it's one of them, because there's a few, criminal justice reform, because every Black person I know has a story about somebody that they know or that their family, friends, or whatever, that has had issues with the law. And let's be honest, even me, when I was 16, we all got cars, right? In Texas, and I got pulled over in my own neighborhood. And I'm the most innocent looking person driving the ugliest brown Honda. I mean, it did not make any sense. And I got pulled over like, are you sure you live here? This, that. So I think that this is something that I struggled to, when I was younger, struggled to talk about because I was ashamed, you know, like, why is it that I'm getting policed? So then I stopped driving, of course, thinking that would help. And I got pulled over walking. I mean, you know, I got.
Well, we heard of
pulled
driving with Black, so you experienced walking while Black. We
Walking
know
while
what happened
Black.
to that brother who got killed running while Black.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
I
just
was
leaving your
actually-
house and being Black is a precarious situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, so I think for me the commonality is obvious, right? It's just how we look, right? And even the last time somebody pulled me while I was
No,
walking,
Stop.
I was
Hold on.
walking.
Okay,
Hold
Angela,
on.
what's the commonality?
The commonality is white people. It's
No,
not
no, of
us.
course.
No.
No.
But you can't even
Yeah.
frame it like the commonality is how we look. It's not what we don't
No,
all look the same. If you look at
No, but
all
it's
5 of
true.
us, we are not the same. So it's not what we look like. It's not what we're doing. It's not what we're wearing. It's what they're thinking. And that is all that it is. It's
But the
100% on them.
Yeah,
I
can
I'm
agree
just
with
saying
that.
cue for them to find us is how we look. I mean, that is how they're finding us. You know, like if I say to somebody that I got pulled over walking in my neighborhood, I will have people tell me, well, technically, you're not supposed to XYZ. And I'm thinking, but the cue, why did they pick me out of
Yeah.
other people? And it's because of my skin. Let's be
It's
honest.
the color of your skin.
Nothing else.
No.
What's that?
I don't
It's actually
accept
in
that
this,
framing.
I'm not even taking it. It's in
The
this book.
framing is, I've read that book. That's very good. The framing of it is that they don't like us because of the color of our skin, but they're the ones who dictated what skin color was acceptable and what isn't. It's not anything. This is, I know it's, I have like a lot of different ideas about things and I know it, but if someone hates you or likes you, it's all in their head. It's
Of
really,
course.
it's literally
Yeah.
nothing to do with you. So
I know this, yes.
yeah, we have to do things, and I mean we as a society. I don't mean Black people particularly, but how people are being educated. That in the United States, we've actually never tried to get rid of racism. We've
No.
never actually tried it. We've never actually tried to educate people in a different way and teach them different things. What we did do after the civil rights movement and the Voting Rights Act and all these other things is that we just said, well, we can't dictate what's in people's hearts. Yeah, actually we can. We do it all the time. It's called marketing, advertising. I mean, we dictate how people feel about a lot of things. And so because I don't think that Black people need better marketing. That's not what I'm saying. I think that we have to figure out how to get white people to change. And
Well, you have an incentive.
that's, yeah, that they have to change, because I know that there's lots of white people that don't want to live in this racist world. I don't, I'm not here to like advocate for white people, not by a long shot.
No.
Not by a long shot. I could say a lot of terrible things about white people, but I won't. But I think that we have to figure out how we can get everyone to have a paradigm shift. A lot of us have made the paradigm shift, and it's not just white people that need to change how they think. It's some people of color too that need to make the
Well, we're
shift.
talking about a human condition. It's we live in a sexist society. We're celebrating the 100th anniversary of a woman's right to vote in the United States, and not every woman, white women's right to vote in the United States. We're talking about a country that's about 400 years old, that was founded by rich white men for rich white men at the cost of First National people. No respect for women, poor people, and not the people that they bought over and change. And we look at societies that are supposedly more developed or as developed as ours, they've got serious problems with race and gender, sex as well, or misogyny, homophobia. This is, of course, progress and change is possible. I don't hold out any hope that it's going to happen. And Scarlett will be a great-great-grandmother. My bonus kids will be great-great-grandmother. It's not going to be this
It could
in our
happen
lifetime.
at any time. I listen to everything that everybody said, and I don't
and
want
what
to
you
be the
say,
contrarian.
as far as like anything is possible, you're right. We may be to Mars before that. We're on our way to Mars. Fundamental change is possible, but I don't have as much faith in the human nature that that's going to happen at a rapid pace.
I don't either.
Say that it shouldn't, or that it couldn't, or
When
that
it
we
happens-
can't do everything to make it possible. I'm more cynical.
It may not,
than
you
that.
might be right, but I have to say, when you have children who are 10 and 12, or well, now 11 and 13, I think that, and you see the way their life is, you try hard not to project your own situation. And there is more hope, I feel, with younger, like when I hang out with someone who's 18, 20, 25, it is different. I'm not saying it's across the board so different that I'm not worried. I worry a lot, but
Oh, I have hope, or I would think it would never happen. I have hope.
I think the new
yeah, but
generation.
it could happen. It could happen. Like, you don't know.
I think the new generation, or I don't even know how old these people are, but I would say the forward-thinking people are more about fairness these days, to be honest. And I think that fundamentally, it is something that drives them. Well, that's not fair. It's not necessarily about race. It's about treatment of people. which I
Yeah.
think maybe that could be, like Angela says, the paradigm shift that is needed, is that, you know, take away kind of this kind of black and white issue, perhaps, and I'm just talking here, and take it back to the ground level of, okay, you know, would you do this to anyone? Do you understand
Yeah.
what I mean? Would you treat anybody like this? Then why do you think it's okay to treat her like that? Would I talk to you in that way? No. Well, then why would I talk to you like that? Because you're the same. Do you understand what I mean? I think that these kids that are coming up today, they understand racism, of course, but they look at it more from a, how could they do that to that man, mommy? Like, what did he do to get that? Do you understand what I mean?
Well, I know a lot of 20-year-olds don't want to be seen as one-dimensional, like black or white, or even though we know we're not one-dimensional, as you say, they see the world in a different way. And that's definitely hopeful for the future. I mean, I don't think black people know life without hope from wherever we are. You know, that's something that we always have. That's what keeps us
That's
from
what keeps
killing.
us going, girl.
That's what keeps us off of
That's
being
what's
mass
been keeping us
murderers.
going for decades and
Yeah.
For
centuries.
400 years, baby.
Yeah,
400
keep us from being
years.
mass murderers for, you
Yeah.
know,
I think that is the intersectionality of people is what attracts me the most to Kamala. I know that she has her history, and
Sure,
I know
sure.
she's not a, like, you know, I may not have voted for her in the primaries, but it doesn't matter. For me, I stand behind her because she is so many things. And I see the potential to kind of bridge a lot of things together, a lot of cultures, a lot of people, but I also know that she herself can be polarizing for some people. But again, you got two choices.
Right.
And if you really are thinking who's more polarizing, I hope you're in agreement that it's not her. I mean, I don't think she's more polarizing than Trump, but okay. So I mean, that's the intersectionality is a word that I think of a lot more now, especially as kids are more open, I think, and more global. And yeah, maybe not this year, but in general.
well, that's why we have to lay the foundation with this election for what kind of country and society, global society, we're going to leave them so they can build on and keep going, because we need 20, you know, the 18 to whatever, from 18 to dead to come out and vote. You know,
Right.
whether you're in the States, everybody needs to have a plan. So Scarlett, you have your voting plan. You've already requested your
Girl,
ballot.
yes. The 19th, I know the date, darling. I'll be checking the spam folder. I'm all over it. Okay.
Okay, Alma, do you know how to get your ballot back to your state? You know how it has
I'm
to
in
get back?
California.
Right.
in
So how do you
California.
get your ballot back? Do you know?
I
We
have
email.
I have it on my phone. It comes directly to me. I even have the date that I'm supposed to check. So
Okay, that's the date you're going to
tomorrow.
get your ballot.
No, but we
Yeah, but
email it back.
I always do the same thing. I just send it by fax.
Okay, so
e-fax.
wait a minute. So your California is an email ballot return state is your answer.
No, I'm in San Francisco and I fax it in to a number and then I call. And
So the
person-
answer is
verify.
that you're in an email back, a fax state, because not everyone's in a fax state. I just want to make sure you have your
But I'm
plan.
just talking about me. I'm only talking about me. So, you know.
Yeah, I
San
was only
Francisco-
asking you. I asked Scarlett first if she has a plan. Her
Yes.
plan is to fax hers back. I'm asking Alma's, do you have a plan? You say your plan is to fax
Yes,
yours back.
I have a plan.
Gloria, do you have a voting plan?
My plan is if I don't get anything by the 20th, then I'm gonna call,
Adrian.
try and call. No, I try and call, get in touch with the people
Count
that
the
I
registrar or
received-
whatever.
Yeah.
You call
that I
the-
received
your
my confirmation from. Because
And then
if
you
they
know
put
when you
that
if you
in-
have to call them, you're going to say, email me my ballot.
Yeah, and
And
I
they're
wrote
gonna-
that on there already, that they're supposed to email it, but
But here's the thing. If you don't get it, the plan is to get your ballot. That's everybody's plan. We
Exactly.
asked for
Step
it. The
number
plan is
one.
to get it back. Right.
yeah,
So if we don't get it, we're going to call and follow it up. And we're going to say, email me my ballot. Now,
Yeah.
Gloria and I vote in DC. We can return our ballot by email.
yeah.
That's the third step of your plan. Now,
Yeah. I'm
if
gonna email mine as soon as I get it.
that's right. Angela, I know you have your plan. What's your plan? Your state's Florida. How do you vote?
I can return it by fax, so I'm just gonna print it out, vote, and send it back. I've been looking forward to voting for a long time.
For 4 years.
Yes, for 4 years.
Well, definitely. Well, we voted in 2018, which is fabulous. Why we have all these wonderful women that came into the House of Representatives. What are they called? The squad, you know, AOC,
Yes.
and I can't remember all their names. So 2018 was a bumper year. One of the best things that happened to us on January 2017, instead of having inauguration day, we had the March on Washington, and women have been hitting it hard ever since. And we've had unprecedented numbers in that class that came into the House of Representatives. So we want to keep that momentum. We were blue waving back then. We've been blue waving through special elections that have been going on ever since 2016. We want to keep that going into 2020. We do not want to wake up in November 2020 feeling like we felt in November 2016.
Can I say something
You can say anything
affirmative about Joe Biden? You know, there's a lot of people who are like, well, we'll just vote for Joe Biden and, you know, there's no other choice. But, you know, he's not a bad man. I
No.
was a Bernie Sanders. I am a Bernie Sanders supporter. And I voted for him in the primary. And I voted for him in the primary in 2016, too. So I am definitely a stan. But there's nothing wrong with Joe Biden. He's a nice man. And the one thing that I really like about him that I discovered from the convention and the sort of lead up to it is that he's a person that can evaluate information and then make decisions based on the facts that have been presented to him and change his mind. And that is a quality that is very desirable to me.
Well, it's needed in a president.
That we don't need a person who's just who decides something based on something made up in their head, and that we're gonna work off of whatever nonsense is rolling around in their head. Like, we need a person who can look at evidence and then sit down with other people and come up with the best ideas, you know, that can collaborate. And he is 100% that person. So I went from being, you know, I'm never going to vote for Biden to I'm totally riding with Biden.
And also, Angela, he has Kamala at his side, who really knows how to analyze and who really knows how to get things done.
Yes. So they're
One thing
going to
I've
be a
been
great
thinking
team.
So it's a good ticket.
There's
It's an
a woman
excellent
on
ticket.
my Facebook feed who's been every day. She has a reason for voting for Biden. So she's counting down until the election day. And it's actually really good because it's very specific, policy driven. It gives you information to feel more and more confident, as opposed to talking about what you don't like in the current administration. And I think it's been really effective. She seems to be getting quite a bit of interest.
That's good. Another thing, bit of good reading is the platform, just to know what our party stands for. And that's like the guiding light for everything from the White House down to the mayor's mansion. So I want to thank you all. Is it his bedtime, Scarlett? Yeah. Thank you so much for taking this time on a weekday evening. I know we're all busy during the day, for making sure that we get our voices heard. Our voices matter, our opinions matter. We don't always have to agree, but we always love each other and respect what the other person has to say. Everybody who isn't registered to vote, go to votefromabroad.org. Look for your ballot to come. Make sure you ask for your ballot to come by email. Look for it starting from September 19th. What's ballot day? September
19th. It's Saturday. Ballot day is this Saturday. So everybody stand by. Get your ballots, print them out, vote.
As Scarlett say, check the spam folder, be all over
Girl,
that.
yes.
As Gloria says, if she doesn't get it, she's calling. You know, have a voting plan and encourage 5 other people to have a voting plan as well. Sisters, thank you so much for coming together. It's so nice to see Scarlett and Gloria. I haven't seen you all in ages, and Alma, it's nice to meet you in person.
Yeah, it's
girl-
been so long.
It's been
look
so
at that,
long.
sweetie.
And my girl, Angela, holding things down. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thanks a lot also.
Bye.
Hey,
Anytime,
dog.
girls.
You guys
Y'all,
have a good
Stay
VCs,
strong.
be horse. Hey.
Be horse. Hey, Doa.
Hey, dog.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.